welcome back. So I'm just going to be getting the forks out of the bike. I'm planning on changing the fork oil or just refreshing it because I think it's possibly original and I just want to see if it improves the handling. The oil itself's only like 15-20 quid, so not too bad. So all that I've done so far, you can see I've kind of got it rigged up from here. It's not the perfect scenario, but I've done it a few times before on other bikes and it seems to work. I've got the cloths in there just to protect that from rubbing and damaging the paint. The fork caps, I've loosened them while they're in the triple clamps just to make it easier because they are on pretty tight. And I've got a note of all the current positions and settings, so the distance from the top of the fork to the casting on the top triple clamp, so you can see on the left it's 5.5 mil and on the right it's 5.9, so there's a bit of difference. Biggest difference is in the gap. So the gap, let me show you, from the clip on to the clamp, so it's 4.2 mil on one bar and 2.76 on the other side. So I'm not necessarily going to put them back in those positions. I think I'll probably have them a bit more even. And then I've got all the preload tension and compression set, or rebound and compression settings are. So I've got what stock is on the sort of bottom right here, and then what it was when I checked it. So they were all pretty much at the stock setting. So now I know that, I'm just gonna, before I actually lift the bike up, I'm just gonna start loosening a lot of the bolts. So the caliper bolts, the axle, and then I'll see what bodywork I need to take off. So I'll obviously be taking this off, the mudguard. I think I'm probably going to need to take these off as well. But I don't want to have to take off anything I don't need to. So I'm just going to get cracked on now, take off the bits of bodywork, the wheel, etc. Get it raised up, and then get the forks out and see what it's like for opening them and changing the oil. So as you can see, that's both of the forks out. Here they are here. Overall looking pretty good condition. I'm just going to give them a little clean before I start disassembling them. One thing I will say is I'd planned to take this fairing piece off just so I didn't knock it or drop anything on it. Just with working in that area, but that fairing's actually part of the nose cone, so the whole nose has to come off. So I ended up leaving it in the end. I did take the side fairing off on one side, and I don't think I actually needed to. I never done it on the other side, so it's just going to mean it's going to take a little bit longer to put it back together. So yeah, all good so far. I'll just get to, I'll just start cleaning these and then probably tidy up the mess I've made a little bit and then start disassembling, see how I get on. So now we'll get an idea for how dirty this fork oil is. Now I'm hoping I don't spill it everywhere. Right. Oh, look at that. Also seems like there's hardly any as well, which is very strange. There should be like, don't know, I've not checked yet, but there should surely be like 500 mil. I've now got most of the cartridge out, as you'll see here. So I think more's going to come out this time. Oh yeah, that's it. Oh crap. There's something else about to fall out. Oh, another spring. So I feel a bit better now because that's more like the amount of oil I was expecting, rather than just like a little dribble. I think it's like with the design of this fork compared to the CBR, the old CBR, there's obviously like different like compartments within the fork. Probably for like high speed and low speed dampening, whatever, and that probably just shows how technology's changed over the years with this stuff. It's obviously a lot more advanced and intricate. And then this is some of the internals that have come out the fork. So that was what needed the special tool, which was that there. That was really tight. I had actually rammed the fork under here, just so I can like properly pin it in place, and then was using the spanner to try and get that off. But I was proper jumping on it, and it was actually, you could actually see the workbench lifting as well. So got that out. That was what kept this piece in. So once that came out, and then last was the spring, and then to be fair, there's some collars in here as well, so they all need to go back in. And then the little damper rods, they were the first things that come out, but they like insert into there. So all pretty straightforward. I'm just remembering I'm missing a bolt as well, so that must have fell off that. It's the lock nut for when the top cap goes back on. So I'm just going to leave that there. So what was going to be just a simple fork oil change is grown arms and legs. So that's the fork oil. You can see it's pretty, the old stuff, it's pretty minging. But when it was actually thinned out on the bench, you could actually see, like in the puddles, it was all full of metal particles. So I started to think that the bearings might be a bit worn, and right enough, that's what they look like. So the pink material is like the base material, and the dark grey is like the Teflon coating. So you can see on this one the whole inner part's worn down, and on the other one it's like half like there's sort of like wear like halfway, so not good. So bushes are going to need change, but because the bushes need changed, the seals, even though they were fine, are going to need changed as well. Mainly because to separate the forks, you have to slide the seals back over the bushes, and obviously they've got like sharp edges and stuff, especially here. So they probably damage the seal. So I'm going to have to do everything, which is a bit annoying, but then at least once it's done, it's done. And once I got the forks out, I did get a little surprise. So if I look here, oh, my bad. Here, sorry. There's next to nothing left on the brake pads. So you can see, I've not measured it, but you're probably talking, I don't know, a millimetre or something. The groove between them is gone, so they're like all one pad now. And yeah, oh, this one's actually a bit thicker to be fair. But anyway, I've just ordered new brake pads, which I wasn't planning on either, so I've went for, and I'm going to need to clean all these pistons quite thoroughly, because they're going to get pushed in a fair bit after putting the new pads in. And I'll clean the calipers as well. You can see on like the inner side they're absolutely minging. So get them cleaned up. But I've went for SBS RST pads, which are the same as what's in the CBR, and I've found them very good on track, very good on the road, and warm up and stuff's not really an issue. So I think they were about £66, but at least I know from using them on that they'll actually be good. I have used EBCHH pads in the past, and to be honest, I wasn't impressed. So I'll stick with what I know, which is the SBS ones. So I'll probably have to split this over a couple of videos now, because I've going to have to get a order up an OEM rebuild kit for the forks, wait on the brake pads come in. So yeah. Welcome back. So I've got the new brake pads have come, so I'll get them put in, and I've also got the new bushes and fork seals. Obviously the seals were fine in the first place, there's nothing really to see there, but you can see a difference in the bushes. On this one you can see just little bits of wear on the inside, not too bad, but on these ones you can see on the old one like half of it is worn away, the like coating on the outside, and it's the same on the other one as well. So hopefully that makes some improvement. So I'm just going to start by wrapping these sharper edges in tape, and then starting to slide on the seals and bushes. So that's one fork back together. I'm just going to set this one aside, so just put that here out the way. So the fork cap's just loosely on. I've checked the oil gap, and it's currently sitting at 80mm after pumping it a few times. So I'm going to now put the other fork back together and then do exactly the same. I'll pump them all a couple of times and just check it's still sitting at 80. I just want to make sure that nothing's trickled down into the rest of the fork. In the service manual there is a bit of conflicting stuff online. Some say the oil fills, was it 420mm? Yeah. Some say it's 487, and it differs between L1 and L2 onwards, and this is an L5. But when you actually look into it, the forks are identical on both bikes, so I was trying to understand why the difference. So basically Suzuki think that if you're just changing the fork oil, you'll get 420 in. If it's a full overhaul, which is what this is, because everything's been cleaned and dried off, it should take 487. And basically they just updated their service manuals so that going forward there would be no confusion, and they were just quoting like the amount for a full dry fill, which is 487ml. And as you can see on the side of the bottle, it is pretty much 487 on the first one. On this one I've already got the seals and bushes back in. I'd probably say I think it's called the slide bush. The bush that you have to hammer in behind the oil seal. That was probably the hardest thing about getting them back together. The rest of it should be pretty straightforward, just getting that in first, then the spring, then this goes in that way, that then goes on top, so you can see like the nut on the end there sits in there, the damper rods go into there, and then this is probably the hardest part, because this needs to go back on at 90 Newton meters. So I've just been clamping like the lower half of the fork underneath the workbench. Well, not really clamping, just wedging it under the workbench and cranking down on it enough so that it actually lifts the workbench. Because I know from taking it off that was like roughly about the same pressure, but basically because it's 90 Newton meters and the spanner that I'm tightening with isn't that long, I'm basically tightening it as hard as I possibly can, and I think it'll end up as 90 or thereabouts, so should be fine.